Hi guys, welcome back to my channel today. So if this is your first time of stopping by, thank you so much. You're welcome. My name is Lillian. Please click the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you get notified anytime I post a new video. So today we're learning how to make this mono strap dress that you can actually style in different form, as you can see me do on the video. So thank you so much for your support. So guys, if you recreate any of my tutorial, do well to tag me on Instagram at Dress to Fit by Lillian. Thank you so much for your support. Let's get into it.
For today's tutorial, we're needing Dutchies. Okay, so I have about 2 yards here.
We are starting with pattern drafting, so go ahead, place your pattern on fold. So after placing your pattern on fold, I'm going to go ahead and then create my guideline. After creating my guideline, I'm going to come down by 3 inches and then make my neck width 3 inches, and then I'm going to get my curve ruler and then create my neckline. So after doing that, I'm going to divide my shoulder by 2, and then I'm going to come down by 1.5 inch as my shoulder slope. So I'm going to connect it, and then the next thing I'm going to do is to mark my chest line. As you can see me do, I'm going to create a line, and then I'm also going to mark my shoulder to waist and then create a line, and then I'm also going to mark my waist to hip and then create a line. So after doing that, I'm going to decide what I want to use as my length. So for this particular, I'm going to be using 23 inches, so I'm going to mark 23 inches and then create a line. So after doing that, the next thing we are going to do is to impute our measurement. So whatever your round bust circumference is, divide it by 4 and then go in by that inches. Do the same thing to your waistline, divide your round waist circumference by 4 and then connect it to your chest line, as you can see me do. So the next thing you are going to do is to go ahead and then create your armhole like this, and then after creating your armhole, come over to your hip line, divide your hip circumference by 4, go in by whatever you have and then connect it back to your waistline. So after connecting, the next thing I'm going to do is to bring back the measurement of my hip line to my knee line, and then I'm going to extend and then connect it back to my hip line, as you can see me do, and then I'm going to go in by 1.5 inch and also connect it back to my hip line like so. So after doing that, I'm going to label my chest line, my waistline, and then my hip line, and then this is my knee line or full length, whatever you call it. So the next thing we are going to do is to get your tracing wheel. Remember, our pattern is on fold, so we are going to trace out whatever we have here to the other side of the pattern. So as you can see me do, go ahead and trace out everything you have here to the other side. So after tracing it out, all you are going to do is to open up. So whatever you have, just go ahead and then mark it out on the other side. So this is it, as you can see. So I'm going to label the front. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get my curve ruler, and then the next thing I'm going to do is to connect from my chest line down to my shoulder line, as you can see. So the next thing we are going to do, this point I mark, we are going to cut it out because we won't be needing it. So we are going to go ahead and then add our sewing allowance. So remember to take it through the 1.5 inches you went in with. So that is where we are going to connect from. So I'm going to go over to the other side. On my armhole, I'm going to add 1/2 inch, and then by the side I'm also going to go ahead and then add 1 inch. So take it through your 1.5 inch, as you can see me do. You are done adding your allowance. The next thing we are going to do is to get extra paper and then add it on your shoulder line. That is because we are going to extend the shoulder by 4 inch. So get your tape and then mark out 4 inch. Okay, so after marking your 4 inch, the next thing you are going to do is to take your curve ruler and then extend it to that 4 inch. Hope this is clear. So just extend everything to that 4 inch. I'm going to go ahead and then add my 1/2 inch allowance, and then I'm going to use my curve ruler and then connect it straight to the shoulder. So guys, this is it. So all we are going to do now is to go ahead and then cut out. So take your paper, scissors, and then go ahead and then cut out. Okay, so this is it. So this is it. So the next thing we are going to do now, take your straight ruler and then randomly create a line. You can actually mark on 1 inch, as you can see me do. So go ahead and do that. So this is it for the front. I'm going to set it aside now, and then we are going to cut out the back piece. So for the back pattern, I already placed my pattern on fold. So I mark out 2 inches for my zipper allowance, and then what I'm going to do next now is to come down by 1 inch as my neck depth, and then use my neck width 3 inch, and then I'm going to connect to create my back neckline. So I'm going to divide my shoulder by 2, which is 7, and then I marked. So I'm going to use 1.5 inch as my shoulder slope and then connect. So after connecting, the next thing I'm going to do is to mark my chest line, and then I'm going to create my chest line, and then I'm going to go down by 16 inches. Remember, we are not going to sew off our side dart, so whatever you use as your shoulder shoulder to waist in front is the same thing you are going to mark at the back. So mine is 16 in front. I'm also going to mark 16 at the back, and then I'm going to create a line. So the next thing is to mark my waist to hip, okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and then create a line. So the next thing I'm going to do is to mark the same thing, the same length I mark at the front, and then I'm going to create a line. So what we are going to do now, the next thing we are going to do is to impute our measurement. On your chest line, go in by your round bust circumference, divide by 4, and then on your waistline, divide your round waist circumference by 4, go in by that inches, and then do the same thing on your hip line. So go ahead, take your straight ruler and then connect both points together, and then go ahead and create your armhole. So bring back your hip circumference to the knee line and then connect it to the hip line, and then go in by 1.5 inch, just like we did at the front. So connect it back to the hip line, and then you are going to come over to your waistline, go in by 1/2 inch as usual, mark your 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to take it down to the hip line, and then I'm also going to go out by 1 inch as my zipper allowance. So as you can see me do, so just go ahead and then mark your 1 inch, and then I'm going to go ahead and then connect it with my ruler. Okay, so make sure you connect it exactly the way it is. So I'm going to go ahead now at the other side, and then I'm going to add my 1 inch allowance. So remember to follow it through your 1.5 inch, just like this, and then I'm going to go ahead and use my ruler and then connect the whole points together. So I'm going to extend my armhole to my allowance. So remember our pattern is unfolded, and the front pattern we also drafted it on fold. So what we are going to do, just like we did at the front, we are also going to go ahead and then use your tracing wheel, okay, and then trace out whatever you have. Now we are going to transfer it to the other side of your pattern. So this is it. What you are going to do, flip it over to the other side. So whatever you have, go ahead and trace it out, okay. So from your neckline to your armhole to your chest line, and then to your hip line. So trace out everything. As you can see, take your paper scissors and then cut out. So remember this on photo, you are cutting only one side of it. So when you're done cutting, flip it over and then cut out the other piece of it. So when you're done cutting, what we are going to do next, so the same thing we did at the front, we are also going to do the same thing at the back. So go ahead, add extra paper on your shoulder. So when you're done with that, go ahead and then mark 4 inches, and then take your ruler and then connect it, okay, just like as we did at the front. So join your paper together, connect from your chest line also to that shoulder line. So when you're done, go ahead and then cut out, as you can see me do. So just go ahead and cut out. So this is it after cutting out. So we are going to go ahead and then cut out on our fabric. So I already have my front piece on my fabric. So remember, we actually created a random line. So just go ahead and then slash it, as you can see me doing. So slash it at the point where we mark. So come over to this other side, then slash at that point, okay. This actually to allow us to move that particular piece. So come over to this other side and then pin down, then mark 2 inches away, and then pin the second one there. So when you're done pinning, mark another 2 inch, pin the third one there, then mark another 2 inch, pin the fourth one there. So do the same thing to the rest of the piece. So you are going to ignore the small one that we have there, okay. So no need, we are not going to be using it, so just ignore it. So when you are done, come over to the top, use your chalk, and then just connect like this. So when you are done doing this, what you are going to do, you are going to place, so take the first one, pin it to the second one, do the same thing to the next one, pin it, just like we are covering the space you have, your normal way of pleating. So pleat like so. So when you are done pleating, what you are going to do, you are going to push this over, and then you are going to come down. So at the down, you are going to add 6 inches. So when you are done, go ahead, connect it, and then cut out, okay. So cut out like this. So when you get to your armhole, go ahead, use your pin and then pin down, so that it will be easy for you to cut out. So go ahead and then cut out, and then follow your shoulder line. Remember, we already marked out our chalk, so you are going to follow it, going to follow the chalk, and then go ahead and then cut out. So this is it for the front, okay. So I'm going to remove my paper now. So I'm going to remove my paper, and then this is the front piece, okay. So this is the front piece. So I'm going to set it aside now, and then we are going to cut out the back piece. So for the back piece, what you are going to do, come over to your neckline, add 1/2 inch, and then come over to your armhole, also add 1/2 inch. So when you're done doing that, go over to the other side, do the same thing, add your 1/2 inch allowance, and then just like we did at the front, come down by 6 inches and then mark. So when you are done doing that, all you are going to do is to go ahead and then cut out. So guys, this is it for the back piece. So what you are going to do now, we are going to cut out a strap. strap is going to be 10 inches width, and then the length is going to be the whole 2 yards length. So I'm going to go ahead and then cut out, as you can see me doing. So after cutting out, I'm not okay with this 2 yards length, so I'm going to go ahead and then cut out another 10 inches width. Okay, so I'm going to cut another 10 inches width, and then this particular one, I'm going to make the length 33 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and then cut out. So I will show us how we are going to join this whole
so this is
together.
my front piece. So bring in your front piece, and then you're also going to do the same thing with the back. So bring in the back piece. Remember, we went up by 4 inch. Okay, so remember, from our normal shoulder line we went up by 4 inch. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to, okay, let's use this, because you remember we actually slash and spread this. So this particular one is what we are going to use. So use the back piece. So you are going to also come down by 4 inch. So after marking the 4 inches, what we are going to do now, we are going to come over here. We are going to come over, pin it down here at this end, and then also pin it down like this at this end. Okay, so after pinning, just put them together like this, as you can see me doing. Okay, so just put them together. All you need to do is to make sure it's aligning. Make sure everything there is aligning, and then you're going to come over here, also align it like this, and then come over this end, come over this end, also align it. Okay, and then align it like this. Okay, so just pin it down, pin it down. Okay, so pin it down. Pin it down. Okay, so when you're done pinning, this is it. Let me turn it to the right side so you'll be seeing it. So this is it. So what we are going to do now, you are going to go over to your machine. Okay, so go over to your machine. You are going to join at this point. Don't sew this edge yet. Don't sew this point yet. Okay, so all you need to do is to come over here and then sew at this point. So hope this is clear. So what you are joining is your shoulder to shoulder. Okay, so join your shoulder to shoulder. And when you are done, you're also going to come over the side. Okay, so as usual, you're also going to come over the side, and then you're also going to pin down, because we are also joining the side by 1 inch. Okay, so you're also going to bring this piece. Okay, so bring this piece. You're also going to place it here, right side facing the right side, and then you're also going to go ahead and then pin down. To do now, you are going to go over to your machine. You are going to sew at this point, and then you are going to come over to this side. You are going to join by 1 inch, and then come over to this other side and then join by 1 inch. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do that, and then I'll bring this back. So guys, this is it after sewing. Okay, so I already joined. Remember, like I instructed that we should join at that 4 inch we went down with. So I already joined. Okay, so this is the right side. And then I also did the same thing. I already joined at the side by 1 inch, as you can see. So this is the other side. Okay, so guys, I don't have enough fabric. Like I said, I'm actually using roughly 2 yards. That is, if not even less than. Okay, so I don't have enough material, so I don't have material for interfacing. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go over to my machine. So this, at this point, is your choice. You can choose to sew. You can also choose to hem with hemming gum. Okay, so it's actually your choice. So all you need to do now is, if you are going to sew, remember we added ½ inch, so just go ahead and then sew in ½ inches. Okay, so if you are going to hem, then go ahead and then hem by ½ inch. So the only thing I want you to know is that when you come to this point, remember this is the 4 inches that we have, that we extended our shoulder with. Let's say you are hemming. Don't hem like this. Okay, so whatever you are doing, make sure that this particular piece is out of it. Okay, so you can actually choose to hem it different like this, but don't hem it together. Don't close off this point, because we are going to pass that strap that will actually cut out through this space. I don't know if this is clear. So when you are hemming or you are sewing, all you need to do is to take this, push this in, and then hem. Okay, so if you see that it's going to obstruct whatever you are doing, you can actually trim it a little at this end. Okay, so that you can actually hem it freely or sew freely. Okay, so you are also going to do the same thing with the armhole, because we are not adding sleeve, either hem or sew. So whatever you want, go ahead and do that. So I'll go ahead and do what I just instructed, and then I'll bring it back. This is it. Okay, so I went ahead to hem with my hemming gum. Okay, so I hemmed with my hemming gum at the top, and then at the side, like I said before, I don't have enough material left, so I just cut that small piece and then I use it to actually sew around the armhole. Okay, so you can hem, you can do whatever you want at that point. So what you are going to do now, we are going to turn it over to this side. Okay, so remember we still have our 4-inch that we went up with from the armhole. So all you are going to do is to come over here. You are going to fold in 1/2 inch. Okay, so fold in 1/2 inch and then pin down. So fold in 1/2 inch and pin down. Okay, so come over here. So come over this side. You're also going to do the same thing, fold in 1/2 inch and then pin down. Okay, so this is it. So you're going to come over to this other side. You're also going to do the same thing. So also fold in 1/2 inch, then pin it down. Come over here, fold in 1/2 inch, and then pin it down. Okay, so obviously this side, remember this side of it will actually slash and spread. So what you're going to do here, just split and then fold. Okay, so remember at this point we actually slash and spread on this other side of it. So just split and then fold in. So guys, so this is it now, as you can see. So whatever you're doing, make sure this particular 4-inch that we went up with is not showing on the right side. Okay, so just try as much as possible to move it inward a bit. So we are supposed to do full lining on the armhole, just that I don't have enough fabric. So if you have enough fabric, you can actually do full lining. It will be better and it will give you more finer finishing. So what you are going to do now, you are going to go over to your machine, and then you are going to top stitch at this point, and then come over here and then top stitch. Okay, so just make sure that the extra 4-inch that we added is not showing on the right side. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go over to my machine, and then I will sew at this point, and then I'll also sew over at this point. Okay, so go ahead and I'll go ahead and do that, and then I'll bring it back. So guys, so this is it after sewing. Okay, so we have our opening here on both ends. Okay, so we have our opening here, and then we have our opening here. So what we are going to do now, this is it. This is the right side, and then this is the inside. Okay, so this is it after sewing. Okay, remember I asked us to sew at this point and then sew at this point. Okay, so this is it. So what we are going to do next now, remember we actually cut out the strap, so we are going to bring in that strap. So what you are going to do with this, so what you're going to do, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to sew this together. Okay, so after sewing, then I will join it right side facing the right side like this. Okay, so after sewing, I will then turn. Okay, so after sewing, I will then turn and then iron out. So I will do that and then I'll bring this back. So guys, so this is it after sewing. I'm going to bring in my dress. Okay, so bring in your dress. So what you're going to do, you are going to come over. So you're going to come over at this point. So you are going to pass it through. You are going to pass one side of it through the space we have here. Okay, so pass it through this space and then bring it out on the other side. And then you are also going to take the other side of it. You're also going to take this side of it and then also pass it through the opening space we have. So pass it through and then bring it out the other side. Just do it to arrange it however you want. Okay, so when you're done, this is what it will look like. This is what it is. Okay, so as you can see, this is what it will look like when you are done passing it around. So I'm going to show us how we are going to wear this when it's time to actually fit it. Okay, so this is what it will look like when you're done. So the next thing we are going to do now, you're going to open it up. So you're going to open it up and then you are going to get elastic. Okay, so the elastic you are using depends on the fullness you want, and then it depends on how short or how long you want. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pass my elastic. I'm just going to sew my elastic here, and then I'm going to come over here. I'm also going to sew my elastic. So guys, I want you to know that this part is actually optional. It's totally optional. Okay, so if you want, do the same thing. If you don't want, go ahead and do whatever you want. So before passing, you can actually leave yours like this. Just go ahead and hem, fix your zip, and then that is it. You can also choose to use elastic just like I did. So this point is optional. Okay, so I'm also going to, so before adding your elastic, do where to hem it down and do that. So when you're done, all you need to do is to go ahead and then fix your zip. Okay, so just go ahead and then fix your zip. So this is it for this video. So I'm going to fit this and then I'll share the finished look with us.
So this is the finished look. Just like I said, you can actually add elastic to both ends, and then you can also decide to leave it that way. So you can style it however you want, as you can see on the video. So thank you so much for watching. If you find this video helpful, please subscribe and like. Don't forget to comment, share with your friends. Thank you so much for your support. See you on my next video.